Dark Sorcery, so I'm not just putting it on my channel, I'm putting it on here too. When it comes to light and dark and the whole dichotomy, I'm actually working on trying to unify everything. In the West, in particular, if you're going to use the context of Christianity, I would say, the big thing that people that go to the darker side or anti-Christian or anti any established religion really is a matter of choice, and choice is important, because a lot of times these other institutions, the more people that say that they're the light, the on the right side or the right hand path or any of that kind of stuff, organized religion, a lot of times they're telling you don't have a choice. You have to follow this one book. You have to follow this one person who's telling you what the book means, whether it's a pastor or a pope, a bishop, or whatever title they want to give themselves. And that is kind of like one path of the Western Christianity. You could say all religions, but I'm just doing this in the context of Christianity. So the first path of the Western, Christianity thing would be Orthodox Christianity. You're just using the Bible, the King James Version of the Bible, the NIV version of the Bible, the 66 different books of what we call the Bible in the West. And you usually have somebody who's telling you this is what it means. And it's also been transliterated by kings and councils and, all kinds of religions like that. So it's very, no choice. You pretty much do what we say in the first path. I would say the second path of Christianity, and this is just a system I'm working out to choose your own religion, and you can change the context of Christianity to anything else. The second path would be Gnostic Christianity, what I would call Gnostic Christianity. And in Gnostic Christianity, I would say use any book that you want that has to do with Christianity, somewhat. You could use the Book of Enoch, all the books that they didn't put in the 66 books that are of the acceptable, like modern Bible type thing. You could use different interpretations. You could come up with your own interpretations, and you don't have somebody saying you have to use this one book and I have to tell you how to do it. That would be Gnostic Christianity. I would put that in that category. More of a choice, more of a free thinking path would be the middle path, and that's the path I would choose to go on. And I would also say that's the path of the chaos magician, but that's my own personal theory. The third path of Christianity would be anti-religions, and this is where the left-hand path comes in. It actually is for people who have, encountered the mythology of Christianity, encountered the thing of organized religion, and usually, we're just doing the Christian context here, but it could be anything. And said, I want to be against that. I want to go out of my way, because Satanism, Satan is based on a Christian idea. So based on that Christian idea, you say, I want to use the symbology, the mythology, and I want to be the opposite of that because it's I've got a bad idea about it. That would be the third path. Third path of this is, I would put it Thelema, Satanism, paganism, witchcraft even. People could argue, well, no, witchcraft is a separate thing, and the Druids and all that stuff. However, I would say, because the King James Version of the Bible says, never suffer a witch, and the whole word witch and the whole concept of witchcraft kind of came from Christianity as an anti-thing, and people modernly embrace that and say, we're the children of the witches you didn't burn, and that's kind of a mythology in itself, I believe. However, I think that it is kind of an anti-religion, or I would call these problem child denominations of Christianity. That would be the third path on this. The fourth path would be all religions that have nothing to do with Christianity. Buddhism, Hinduism, which modernly they've blended a little. However, they Buddhism and Hinduism both have predated Christianity. So obviously they existed before it. They're not based on it. You could throw paganism and witchcraft in there if you want. That's your choice. If you say paganism, it means anti-Christian basically at this point, which is obviously saying if my paganism is anti-Christian, then it's based on Christianity because you have nothing to bounce it off of. So That is the fourth path of the thing, is all religions that have nothing to do with whatever base religion you're going on, and we're using Christianity as a result here. The fifth category would be whatever religion you personally come up with after, and you know, it's dynamic, it changes all the time. After you've already researched, you know, the Orthodox Christianity, where with, you know, using one book and one person, you've done all this stuff in the Gnostic that are Christian-based books. Maybe even you've went into the anti, like here we are in, you know, in Dark Sorcery. You go a little bit into the darkness and the anti-Christian, and then you put into all the religions that have nothing to do with Christianity. And at the end, you're like, this is my own personal religion. And that's the 5-point system of picking your personal religion. And like I said, you could change the context of this. You could change it from into Buddhism. Buddhism, you would say the first path would be more like the Eightfold Path, Theravada Buddhism, where they believe that the Buddha actually had writings, and they have organized thing where somebody tells you this is what the writings mean and this and that. And then the third path would be Mahayana Buddhism, where it means, you know, you bring everybody along and you come up with your own systems and your own way of doing things. And then the third path could be like I would say the Tibetan, more of a Vajrayana, they call it. You know, it's a little bit anti, you know, the Tibetan, for people who don't know, Tibetan Buddhism, a lot of the mythology is based on converting the demons that they had in Tibet and places like that into help, and converting them into, you know, good beings, good Buddhist beings and stuff like that. And then, of course, the fifth, you know, the fourth would be nothing that has to do with Buddhism. Hinduism predates it. There's all kinds of other religions. People could argue Christianity has nothing to do with it. Then we go to the fifth, which is our own personal religion. So that's what I'm working on. I wanted to share it here. If you are interested in this, you can check out me. My name is Guion Hughes. My production company is Guillotine Productions. I have my own channel, and I have my Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff. When this gets posted up, it'll come up there, and you can search my name, GuionHughes. I've done lots of videos with Alfredo in the past, and I'm sure all my links are there, so you can find me if you want to ask more questions about this. And everybody who turned in, thanks so much. I will be tuning out because I'm driving, and you know, this came to me, but I shouldn't probably do this when I'm driving.